We've all felt it, right? That overwhelming, sometimes totally illogical, all-powerful force we call love. But what if it's not just some kind of magic? What if it's, well, what if it's chemistry? Today, we're going to set aside the poetry and look at love through the lens of science to see what it's really made of.
To really understand love scientifically, we first have to get our heads around what science even means. We usually think of it as to know, but its Greek root, schisein, actually means to split or to cut apart. It's the same root you see in a word like schizophrenia, which means split mind. So when we apply science to love, what we're really asking is, what happens when we break this huge feeling down into its tiniest little pieces?
And yeah, that leads us right to the big question of this whole explainer. We experience love as this one single, almost magical thing. So can we really get it by breaking it down into a bunch of chemicals and evolutionary drives? Or does taking it apart like that mean we lose the very thing that makes it so special? Let's find out.
Okay, a really great place to start is with the work of an anthropologist named Helen Fisher. She's a total pioneer in this field, and her big idea is that love isn't just one big feeling. It's more like a journey through three very distinct, chemically driven stages. So, what we think of as love is actually three different systems in our brain. Each one has its own evolutionary job to do, and each one is run by its own unique chemical cocktail. Now, they can definitely overlap, but they are separate systems.
And here's the blueprint. It all starts with lust, which is driven by sex hormones. From there, it can evolve into attraction. That's when those euphoric, obsessive, feel-good chemicals like dopamine take over. And finally, if we're lucky, there's attachment. This is the long-term bonding stage, and it's fueled by hormones like oxytocin. So remember those three: lust, attraction, and attachment. Let's break each one down.
All right, stage one, lust. This is the primal, foundational drive. It's not really about a specific person yet. It's just pure, raw motivation. The hypothalamus, which is a key part of our brain that regulates basic drives, starts pumping out hormones like testosterone and estrogen. And get this, testosterone increases libido in everyone, men and women. This whole stage is really just about creating that initial spark.
Next up is attraction. And this is that classic love-struck feeling. This is where your brain's reward pathways get absolutely flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, making you feel giddy, euphoric, and just full of energy. It's literally why you can't eat or sleep when you're falling for someone. But here's the really wild part. At the exact same time, your serotonin levels drop. And this is huge because low serotonin is also a key feature of obsessive-compulsive disorder. It's a pretty powerful scientific explanation for that all-consuming, can't-stop-thinking-about-them obsession of new love.
So after the crazy, intense high of attraction, there's the calm of attachment. This is that secure, long-haul bond, and it's driven by oxytocin, often called the cuddle hormone. It gets released during moments of intimacy, everything from sex to breastfeeding, which is why this system isn't just for romantic partners. It's actually the chemical foundation for our closest friendships and the bonds between parents and children too.
But here's the twist. This powerful chemical cocktail that makes us fall in love and form these incredible bonds, well, it has a dark side. Like any powerful potion, the dose and the context, they make all the difference.
Just think about this for a second. The same exact regions of your brain that light up when you're in the middle of that attraction phase, they also light up when an addict takes cocaine. Both experiences hijack the exact same dopamine-driven reward pathways. So from a purely chemical standpoint, falling in love looks a whole lot like a form of addiction.
And it's not just dopamine. Even oxytocin, our beloved cuddle hormone, has a flip side. While it strengthens our bond with our in-group, our friends, our family, it can also ramp up our suspicion and negative feelings toward outsiders. So the very same chemical that builds these amazing bridges of trust can also build walls of prejudice.
This addictive quality of the love cocktail can sometimes create what people call attraction junkies. These are individuals who aren't really looking for a person to connect with, but are instead chasing that intense chemical high, that dopamine rush of early attraction. And as soon as the novelty fades, so does their interest.
And this creates a really destructive, exhausting cycle. It starts with a craving for the high, which leads to this passionate, often ill-advised affair. When it inevitably ends, the crash is just brutal. And the only way they know how to cure that pain? Find a new person and get another fix. It becomes this relentless chemical hunger.
So, given how messy and frankly even dangerous this whole chemical system can be, you have to ask, why? Why did it evolve in the first place? What is the ultimate purpose of this incredibly complex, intoxicating, and sometimes destructive force we call love?
Well, the answer is both super simple and incredibly profound. Love isn't so much a choice we make as it is a biological imperative. It's a fundamental drive that's been programmed into our species by evolution because, to put it simply, it helps us survive.
Here's the evolutionary logic laid bare. To succeed as a species, we needed bigger brains, but bigger brains meant bigger heads, which made childbirth really dangerous. So the evolutionary trade-off was that our babies are born completely helpless and need years and years of care. So, what was evolution's solution to keep them safe? Love. It's the emotional glue that keeps parents bonded long enough to ensure their vulnerable kids survive.
And this wiring for love? It begins the moment we're born. Neuroscientists have actually found that our early experiences of affection and care literally build the neural pathways for love in our brains. Our capacity to form healthy bonds as adults is directly shaped by the nurturing we get as kids. To put it really simply, we learned how to love by first being loved.
So, we've dissected love. We've looked at the chemicals, the brain pathways, the evolutionary pressures. We basically have the recipe. But this brings us right back to where we started. What does knowing all of this actually mean?
The great philosopher of science Thomas Kuhn once said, "The answers you get depend on the questions you ask." When we ask science, what is love, it gives us a really powerful answer about chemicals and survival. It tells an incredible story about how we're wired, but it's just one story, told from one perspective.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. We now know the recipe, the ingredients for lust, attraction, and attachment. We understand the chemistry behind both the incredible euphoria and the crushing heartache. But does knowing the recipe for the meal in any way diminish the magic of eating it? That's a question science can't answer. Only you can.